This week, we're talking about how the people of God can help their communities thrive by fixing what's broken and missing in our communities and in our churches. We're speaking with Pastor Ben Feldott. He's the senior pastor of Cape Cod Church and a key leader and partner in hosting Thrive Cape Cod. I'm Charles Gowdy, your host for the Church in Action. Ben, thanks for being with us again.
Hi, Charles. It's great to be with you and with Vision New England.
Appreciate it. And so can we start with maybe your bio for folks who don't know you or missed last time you were on? Tell us just a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So, my background's fairly simple. I can go all the way. I grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, home of the best pizza in New England. And shortly after Bible college, I went and started a church. My wife and I did. We were 23 years of age. That's not a recommendation. It's just a story. And 32 years later, we're still here. We came to Cape Cod in 92, having been married 9 months, and we started Cape Cod Church. And our kids have all been raised here. Born here, raised here, and the church has kind of grown up. It's our fifth child, or as Brittany calls it, my first. So that's sort of been our story. But, of course, churches have their own, their own growing processes. So there's stories and eras within that story as well. So I've spent all of my ministry life in one place, Cape Cod, at Cape Cod Church.
Which is a great story. It's a great church. But you've caused us to lose all our New Haven listeners by talking about Springfield having the best pizza.
Well, as I was saying in another conversation, there is a vein of Italian immigrants that runs from around Springfield down to New Haven, and they have blessed us with great pizza. And I guess they flow into New York City too. New Haven is perhaps more famous for it, but goodness, my hometown needs something. So Red Rose, Tony's, Napoli's, Giovanni's, these great Italian pizza places. So.
If you grow up here, you just assume, well, this is what pizza's like. And you go to other parts of the country and like, well, this isn't even pizza, right? This is a variation on pizza. This isn't even pizza.
That's very true. Some people would say, pizza and basketball, but in my mind, basketball is secondary as a gift to the world. So
I'm with you on that. So let's talk about Thrive. What is Thrive?
Yeah, so Thrive at its simplest is an annual gathering of the church in a region, and in our case, Cape Cod. It's morphed into more than that, more than just a gathering. Though just is a bit of an understatement. The centerpiece of it is an annual gathering. For us, it's in early March, where we gather churches together from our region. So they're what we broadly call evangelical churches that come together. In our case, about 40 churches and ministries across our region gather together for a weekend. It kicks off with a night of worship on Friday night, where we have sort of a unified worship band. We have people from a broad range of churches and ministries. And then Saturday, it continues with a day-long conference. And the conference really is sort of the centerpiece of how we look at how do we serve our community and how do we help churches thrive. And the simple idea is that when churches are healthy, communities are blessed. So how can we help churches thrive? What can we do together to create thriving churches? And then how can we together, what can we do to serve our communities? What can we do to address the issues within our local neighborhoods? And that's at its simplest. We can get into details with what that looks like. And then, of course, Vision New England has been a big part of that. They've been sort of a catalyst, a multiplier, carrying a vision for how could we do Thrives in other places, spreading it to Connecticut with a vision to send it to other places. So that's in its simplest form what Thrive looks like. I would also say it's now sort of morphed into other things. So we thrivecapecod.org is a website, sort of a gathering place for our various efforts. We do an annual pastors retreat where we just get pastors together by our region in a one-day off-site retreat environment. We're serving in some partnerships together. We've got a community service project we're doing together this year. We celebrate and promote kind of events that kind of are not the domain of a single church, but broadly churches across the Cape. So there's a prayer aspect to it. So we have prayer gatherings. We kind of promote and celebrate. We don't necessarily own them, but we promote and celebrate them. Same for pastors' gatherings monthly. So Thrive is sort of got its fingers into a lot of things, and it's very similar to what we would call city-to-city movements, where you are looking at how can churches together serve their communities. So happy to go anywhere that makes sense with that.
And so Friday night is kind of simple because for people to understand who aren't there, because it's worship, and it's the whole Cape coming to worship together, and it's worship bands from different churches coming together and different pastors speaking and playing roles. What does Saturday look like?
Yeah, so Saturday is really just a full day-long conference. So we register delegates in advance, and we'll get people registered from about 40. I haven't seen the final number for this year. Could be a few more in that range. And they come together. It opens up in the morning at about 8:30 with a morning worship. So we usually have a band. One of the churches will provide a band. We rotate that from year to year. A speaker, and then at 9:30 we break off into breakouts. And so there are four. The way ours is set up, there are 4 breakout sessions: 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, with a break for lunch. And we have, I think there's 12 breakouts through the day. So at any given time, there are 3 happening in around the building. And usually there's sort of one of those 3 is focused on thriving churches, and then the other 2 are focused on thriving communities. That might look like one on homelessness, one on food insecurity, and one on discipleship. And then the next hour, there might be one on veteran services, serving the elderly, and one on evangelistic outreach for smaller churches, right? So every year it looks a little bit different to keep it fresh and to address the evolving needs of the community, but that's what it looks like through the day. So people kind of get to pick and choose. At the same time, the building is full of hundreds of people from across the Cape. They're meeting one another. We have vendor tables, which I think when we started, we didn't realize how big of a deal that would be. So these are we really give priority to local organizations. A lot of them are church-based organizations, kind of Christian focused, but not all of them. We'll have Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We'll have Neighborhood Falmouth. And these are organizations that we see them doing good in the community and as places where churches can partner with them. And the church gets to be sort of the gospel engine partnering with this organization in the community. So these organizations, they love getting, we had a waiting list for vendors this year. We didn't have enough tables, but those tables are out. So people all day long are kind of exploring those. There are other things. We do a pastor's luncheon. This year there was a young adult meetup with ministry partners. So, hey, are you interested as a young adult in finding out about this? So we invited a few of the ministries. I think Amira might have been one of those. I wasn't directly involved in it, but I saw the gathering taking place, and I love the creativity out of it. There's lots of things like that are flowing out. What happens is when you bring these groups together, stuff percolates up, right? So somebody goes, oh, we're going to have a bunch of young adults. We should do something for that. And then, one year we tried a youth rally. We tried having a youth rally an hour and a half before the night of worship. We discovered that that was a lot of chaos and more complicated than we need to make. So now we've sort of moved that a week after Thrive, something called Winter Jam. And so the week after the night of worship, we had hundreds of kids gathered from churches across the Cape on a Friday night for their own sort of night of worship. It was a little bit more animated than our night of worship. I'll leave it at that. So anyway, the day-long conference, that's what it looks like. It opens with a time of worship, and then it goes into these breakout sessions with a break for lunch. We're done by about 3:30 in the afternoon. Everybody goes home, gets ready for Sunday.
And it's not mandatory, but at Thrive on Cape Cod, we have Christian chicken available for lunch.
That's right. That's right. We do. Cape Cod has Chick-fil-A because it's on Saturday. If it was on Sunday, you couldn't have Chick-fil-A. So so we have Christian chicken and people pre-order. Lunches are available. Our cafe on site has a lot of that, and it's a full day-long conference with all the bells and whistles that goes along with it. And we certainly try and roll out the red carpet. And I think we're able to do that because we partner with other churches. It's not just us. I mean, it's the 30, 40 churches in ministry. And really at the heart of that, there's a group of 10 or 20 churches that are they're in, man. They're pouring into it. They're promoting it. They're volunteering. We have a leadership team. I happen to be the guy on the video today, but we've got a team of people that are really, really vested in this and makes it happen.
And to me, there are two differences I know between this and maybe a normal Christian conference. One is it's hyper local. We're not trying to solve national, global issues. We're trying to solve our community's issues. But there's an energy and a buzz the whole day long that's just not, okay, we're at a conference and we're learning stuff. There's an energy to Thrive.
Yeah, there certainly is. There's something that happens when you get people from different churches together. It's just, it's unique. And that has some enthusiasm. You get to see all the things going on, right? You get to, you get a one-off opportunity. Oh, there's Amira, there's Trinity Christian School, there's Big Brother, Big Sister, there's, that foster care program that started as an outgrowth of Thrive, right? There's all these different things. You're meeting people from different churches. You might be sitting at a table and you say, oh, where are you from? And, they're from, an hour away down Cape. There's something really encouraging about that. And the buzz is definitely there for the day.
That might be the biggest cause of buzz is what we hear so often in the surveys, as you know, is it's just so nice to know I'm not alone. My church isn't alone, that there's other believers here. And we never get into the, hey, what do we disagree on? But we don't all agree on everything, but it's not relevant because we agree on the fundamentals and we agree on the need to serve our communities.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dirty little secret, right? We don't agree on everything. We agree on the essentials, and we would use Bevington's quadrilateral as sort of an understanding. Our doctrine of faith is sort of Lausanne, similar to, we adopt a lot from Vision New England on that, right? So, there is a commonality at the core, but there is a uniqueness at the expression level for sure. And, you see that, there are moments when it's like, oh, well, we wouldn't do that. And, that can be, annoying or off-putting, or it can just be, wow, we wouldn't do that. How great is it that we can be together and, not do that? My personal roots are Baptist, and, but our gathering is, there's Pentecostal churches, there's very traditional churches, there's churches like ours that have a more contemporary flair. There's a little bit of, there's Reformed churches, there's non-Reformed churches, it's such a broad spectrum. And I think that's what makes it unique. So
Yeah, I think the two conversations I hear about things when they're different so we wouldn't do it that way, as you say. And the other ones are, we don't do it that way. That's an interesting idea,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so in terms of the workshops, the 12 workshops that you said were
Yep.
going on, how do you pick what
Yeah.
workshops we're going to do, and how do you figure out who's the right people to be at them?
Yeah, that's good. Good question. So the first thing we do is we have a team, right? So this is, and we talk throughout the year, but because ours is in early March, we probably start talking in earnest in late November. We've like for our keynote speaker for next year is already picked. I wish I could tell you we're always that ahead of the game. We're not, but we are this year. But in about November, the steering committee will start talking. We have a long list of issues that are sort of out there and pressing. And so we'll look and go, okay, we've addressed this issue 2 or 3 years in a row. What do we want? And the team kind of collates that. Then in January, early January, we do a luncheon for pastors. So we bring all the pastors together for a luncheon. We pick a centrally located restaurant. And one of the things we do at that is we say, hey, what are the issues that are bubbling up? What are the organizations that are doing great work? What are you seeing? What should we be addressing? And almost without fail, every year, something comes out of that we didn't see coming, and we add it in. And then within a week or two of that, we're narrowing down that list, because now we're about 8 weeks out, and we're narrowing it down, finalizing our presenters. Often what we do is we'll invite an organization to come in and present, and we'll tell us what the problem is, tell us what you're doing, and tell us how the church can be a part of solving the issue in our community. Now, this can look very different, right? We might have an organization comes in that maybe we're doing something on food insecurity, and we do a panel discussion, and we have 3 organizations. One's running a food pantry, one's sending food home with kids on weekends, and other is offering counseling and is a Christian-based organization, right? There could be lots of things. So they may be a panel discussion. They may have all different expressions of what that looks like. Another one might be housing insecurity. And this is a globally difficult issue. Now, you could bring in someone like, and we've done it, Habitat for Humanity. Tell us what you're doing. You could bring in a group like Housing Assistance Corporation. Yeah, tell us what we can do on the macro level. Other times, we've brought in kind of governmental leaders in the space from our region who are doing research just to say, hey, give us the 40,000-foot view. What is happening? And they'll get into the details, 40,000, 20,000, ground level. Oh, here's the number of housing units. This is a big issue for us on the Cape. Here's what's happened to all the rental units. Here's where people are moving. Here's how many people now commute from off Cape to on Cape. Here's what's happening with our homeless shelter that we lost, things of that sort. So they may not have a specific answer for here's what we're doing. They're kind of giving you the problem at a high level. And what we originally said was, we're not the piece of the puzzle that you should plug in. Come to Thrive, we'll tell you what to do. Yeah. Instead, we want to be a table where people come together and we put the pieces of the puzzle on the table and people work together to figure the puzzle out. Yeah. And so creativity, innovation, unique passions. These 2 churches over here want to partner in this. This church is passionate about this. They find a new partner. Those are the kind of things that we're definitely looking for an organic piece to it.
Yeah. And so what kind of outcomes have you seen come out of it?
Yeah, well, there are lots of interesting things. We've seen new programs started for sure. Foster programs, feeding programs. We've seen programs accelerated. Remember once a few years ago, we were at one of those pastors' luncheons, and we were talking about what could be done. And one of the pastors said, "Well, we're doing this little thing where we're sending food home with kids on weekends through our local school." And they were in a couple of school districts, and we caught them just
for kids who would get free lunch during the week.
That's right. Yeah, kids who were getting free lunch would go home, and they discovered that they were coming back to school on Monday hungry because that free breakfast, free lunch was actually life-giving to them. So this small church actually just decided to dive in. Really a heroic story, and kudos to the pastor and that church for just having unique vision. And then they shared it with us, and churches began to accelerate it. Now, good grief, it is tripled, maybe quadrupled in size since that first year. A number of churches they've become one of our prime partners. I mean, I left that lunch. I'm like, how did I not know about this? Yeah. And it spurred some people. In fact, true story. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then some other of our leaders got involved in it, and I was out of sight, out of mind for me, quite frankly. And I was off running to the next thing. And the next year, I had someone in our church come to me and say, "Hey, I'd like to give to this ministry. Are you familiar with them? Would you, is it something you would support? It's just one of my opinion. And could we do this through the church?" I'm like, "Oh, that's really interesting. How'd you hear about them?" And they were like, "What? We went to Thrive. That's how we heard about them." So shame on me. And we looked at it, and we went back and looked even more closely. And we said, not only do we support it, we'll match your gift. And we got involved, and that's become a pretty prime partner of ours. So I think that's one of the outcomes of it.
And that ministry is Cape Kids Meals.
Cape Kids Meals.
As you know, but for our listeners, we've done an episode with David Johnson, the pastor who started that. I think, Ben, last time I heard they were doing 900 meals a weekend, if I remember right.
Yeah, they are. They're in almost every school district on the Cape. Wow. But here's what else I would say. It definitely develops new partners, and it ignites creativity within the church. People start looking and going, "Oh, how could we be involved in that?" But I would also say, I think it increases evangelism. And I think it is, for us, all of this is part of how we see ourselves reaching our community. How is that? Well, what we do that one weekend of the year probably does more for our reputation and testimony in the community. Let them see your good works and glorify Christ. Yeah. It probably does more in our community as word has gotten out than anything else we do. Yeah. That, and another that's really an outgrowth of this is we started inviting every November. We have a month-long celebration around our missions partners, and we dedicate a week to community partners. They're almost all people who've been to Thrive. Yeah. And what happens is we bring them in, and we let them recruit volunteers from our church. So, and every year we add 50, 60, 70, 80 new volunteers to our community partners. And they love it because they get to recruit volunteers. They get new people serving. And we love it because we're getting to put people in those ministries, which are largely not Christian ministries, but we get to put people in them who are serving because they have a heart for Christ. Yeah. And they want to serve their neighbor. How beautiful is that?
And I think such a witness. I remember you telling me the story about Neighborhood Falmouth, who drives seniors to their doctor's appointments, the grocery store and stuff like that. And they did, you had them in one Sunday. And if I remember right, it was 60 volunteers signed up, which was the biggest day of recruiting they'd ever had. And what a witness that is for people, for their biggest recruiting day ever is at a church.
I think they had 120 volunteers total at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And if you think about it, for organizations like this, they lack the one gift that churches have. Churches don't realize it. Churches are blessed because they get together every weekend. They get their whole constituency together on Sunday, and we get to worship and preach, and we get to promote the things that we value.
Yeah.
A lot of these organizations, where would they find an audience?
Yeah.
Maybe the newspaper does an article for them, but they rely on sort of community events. So when churches ignite this sort of passion, boy, wonderful things happen.
So if somebody was thinking about, hey, this sounds pretty good, or maybe has a concern about, it sounds like a big effort, or if it sounds good and I'd like to do it, what would you say to the folks?
Yeah, I mean, first, we would love to see these started across New England, just because we see all that happens out of it. I mean, if a pastor was thinking of it, I'd say, talk to me, right? Is it a lot of work? Sure, it's a lot of work. But the return is, it's more than worth it. But I would say the practicals of getting it started, number one, I would talk with Vision New England. You guys have a heart for this. You are sort of working with us behind the scenes. You're on the scene. You're as much of an engine for Thrive as any of our churches here on the Cape. And you've got the ability to help replicate it and the passion to replicate it in other areas. That's the number one thing. And then I think once you do that, you need some leaders and churches of influence to partner together, right? So I would just tell churches, like, look around. Who can you partner with? If you're listening and you're a church of influence in your region, I would just, that is such a stewardship responsibility. What are you going to do with that influence in your region? And we just decided that we're a larger church. We just decided we do not want to live solely for ourselves. We want to be a partner to churches local. And Thrive gave us the vehicle to do that.
Yeah, I think, and some people may be listening and saying, oh, well, there's too much competition here, or we don't get along, or there's too many differences. And our experience is not true. There's stuff you have to do to get that. And you guys were very strategic in doing that. But there's stuff you have to do, and you can get through that.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, we live on an island. I mean, Cape Cod is, for all intents, you got to drive over a bridge. We're stuck with each other. And the truth is, we all know it. I mean, there's people, shift between church and church. And, that's sometimes very, very challenging. And pastors can kind of live in a competitive space, and none of us like it, but it should not be that it's easier to pray for churches 4 states away than it is to pray for a church 4 miles away.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where we're like, how can we partner together? And, what a gift. What a gift.
Ben, thank you for taking time to talk with us today. Thank you for our partnership with Vision New England. Thank you for all you do at Cape Cod Church and on Cape. We're really grateful for you.
Well, it's our privilege, and we are so grateful for the work of Vision New England and to be able to partner with you, Charles. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. To support this program and accelerate evangelism, go to visionnewengland.org and click on Donate, or click Member to become a partner with us. This program is supported by the Palau Association, who are dedicated to proclaiming the good news, uniting the church, and impacting cities worldwide.
At Leadership Transformations, we believe that when you have the right resources to help you slow down and experience a deep and refreshing connection to God, you can become the discerning leader you know you are created to be. Friends, Steve Macchia here, and I have a free gift for your soul. It's called Pathways. Pathways is our weekly email aimed at offering you soul-nourishing content for the journey. It contains readings, prayers, spiritual practices, a link to the Discerning Leader podcast, as well as information about all of our upcoming soul care retreats, workshops, and online offerings. So head on over to leadershiptransformations.org today and sign up for this free resource. It will help you slow down and be more. God bless you, friends.